Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Asuka here, bringing to you another video for Conqueror Play published by Porus Interactive. This is a actual in-game PTR demonstration of the Tier 3 and the Tier 4 for the upcoming season of Sacrum Romanum. And the balance changes for the Chariot. Now, I want to keep in mind that everything is subject to change. We actually had a change hit PTR yesterday. I expect a Monday one is likely going to hit. If there's going to be any changes to the tier 3, it's going to be on the Monday. Otherwise, there might be probably just a bunch of changes when it hit live. That being said, let's take a look. Now, let's skip tier 4 for now. Let's skip straight to the Doppelsoldner tier 3. Now, a lot of this information has probably been released because of the video, but I do want to say that some of the information is different from what you could expect. Most notably, on the video for the Doppelsoldner, it says it's 22. It's 24 on the PTR right now. We're not wondering whether or not they're going to change that, or whether or not it was supposed to be lower. Anyway, let's go through the characteristics. We have the unit trait for, well, the generic one, protection of the Aquila. So this is minus 10 leadership for the unit during the Holy Roman Empire of Absolute Punishment season. Right now they're at 155. That means they're going to be 165 by the end of the season. Not particularly expensive, but probably on the slightly higher side. We also have Vanguard Triumph. I think this is a little bit. I think this is not translated properly, or not doesn't explain very well. First on the field, plus 5% defense when scaling walls with ladder, 5% plus 5% damage. It's not a lot, frankly. Climbing ladders is a death sentence. You could seriously just have a plus 100% defenses or a plus 100% damage when climbing up a ladder for like maybe 5-10 seconds. It's frankly just not one of the things that's anyone does. Climbing a ladder is just so basically this is like kind of like a dead unit trait. You'll never really use it. So I'm not particularly sure what the 5% refers to. I have kind of tested around with climbing ladders and stuff. The 5 defense does seem to kick in. You can see it visually as well, and kind of slightly in their performance. Now we have Doppelsoldners have a unit trait called Doppelsoldners. So the Doppelsolder recovers health and increased max health with each enemy killed. From what I have been able to analyze, it seems to be a very low amount. I'm talking about probably 100 health per kill. And this is scaled individually. Now, the kicker here is that it scales infinitely. And the fact that it scales infinitely means that, like, you could kill, like, 100 units and you could have, like, 20,000 health or something on these guys. Do mind, like, it has to be, like, 100 units each, so it doesn't scale as fast as the heavy prefecture cavalry, so don't expect them to be like heavy prefecture cavalry. You will essentially never notice the health increase. The heal is very noticeable. I would say it's probably in the realms of like roughly maybe 400-ish. I it does have a veterancy trait which doubles the healing, so it's probably um, much less when when you start out with the unit. So there's a point for that one. Doppelsoldners deal 15% extra damage to Swiss units. I haven't really tested this entirely. From what I gather, I assume it's going to be the Lion's Fire. Going to be units from the Lion's Fire season. So that's the Raetier Pistoliers, the Swine Feathers, and uh, Lion's Raw Crew. Not that it matters too much. If I'm going to be honest, it should be a defensive trait instead of an offensive trait. But they did make this unit very offensive focused. It does deal a lot of damage. We have formations for disperse and the column formation. We have our windmill. It says, out of the way, the Doppelsoldner swing his great sword, dealing devastating blows to multiple nearby enemies, unstoppable when unleashed. It doesn't have CCI. Don't trust it when it says unstoppable when unleashed. It has a base cooldown of 25 seconds with a base duration of 9 seconds. Song of Langeneck. So they actually do sing. It wasn't a mistake during the uh, reading of the white papers. Now, I don't like this mostly because it does make them fantasy bards, and I was kind of worried that something like this was going to happen. So they're less Langenets and they're less Doppelsoldners, and they're more like D&D fantasy bards that use a two-handed greatsword. Anyway, rains the battle song, demoralizing the enemy, briefly silences enemies within range, preventing them from using skills. Base cooldown at 28 seconds with a base duration of 2 seconds. Not a lot of time. Just to note a couple of things that I have discovered during testing. I won't be able to show any of this anyway, but how the silence works is that it stops the activation, stops the player's ability to activate skills for 2 seconds. This doesn't include player skills, just unit skills. That doesn't mean it can cancel activated skills. It stops the activation of skills while being silenced. So this can be really useful against units that are reliant on quick or repeated activations. So, for example, Wu Wei could be a unit that's really effective for this one, or units that rely on precise timing that can be super effective. Could be super devastating. So, like units like Orochi, and you're just like silence, silent for 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden the cavalry charge comes through, and for 2 whole seconds you can create a gap and kind of thing. It's got potential. It's not any good for the Doppelsoldner themselves because it's only 2 seconds. You don't have really a lot of time to truly make use of the silence, though they do have a doctrine which increases the duration. So there's that. Continuing on, let's look at the attributes. At max level, fully vet. They only have one veterancy line, but we'll go through that in a minute. It has a health of 10,867. Not a lot of health, by the way. Probably in line with a lot of other units, but its strength of 24 does leave a lot to be desired here. They're fairly squishy. They don't have, and they're fairly squishy, so very easy to get them blown up. As I said before, the leadership is 155, speed is 5.5. So they're smack bang in the smack bang tying top tier for like, I want to say like 5.5 is kind of like average. Average speed. When we're talking about like how fast units can be and how slow units are, for the most part, besides the heavy shield units, you won't. Most units will sit around the 5 or the 5.5 mark. So 5.5, they sit at the higher end, but among the average of the speed. particularly when we're talking about like meta units, those things are even faster. So these guys are not particularly fast, but they're not particularly fast, but they're as fast as I would expect at the present time. Um, though, considering how squishy they are, I would have rather they be a little bit faster, probably pushed up to 6. But I didn't make that feedback. I think a lot of I think a lot of problems I see is the amount of damage they deal, and I'll explain that later. No one cares about the labor. We have a slashing penetration of 1729 and slashing damage of 1392. Now, the slashing penetration is actually fairly high for a tier 3 unit. Probably not the highest you'll see in tier 3, but it is really high for a tier 3 unit. Lets it kind of, well, because of how much damage it outputs, it does compete with like a lot of tier 4s. Very capable, if I do say so. Piercing defense is only 378. Slashing defense is 357. Blunt defense is 249. And the block is 450. And block recovery is 25. Now, really low defenses. Not particularly low, but um, tier 4s, again, there's a big jump here, but 700 6 to 700 is the range I would expect the tier 4s to sit at. So for the tier 3s, nominally it would be probably 4 to 500 would be, I would say would be the normal range, but I'm probably wrong about that. If I check through the units, um, 3 to 400 does seem to be kind of like the normal range for tier 3s. Only very few tier 3s would probably sit above the 500 mark, or around the 500 mark. So yeah, that's all I can say about that. I do feel that because they don't have a shield, um, they are a bit squishy, but they do have block capabilities, and that's on their whirlwind, windmill skill. So they do have some defenses when they do use that, and some extra defenses through veterancy. So the veterancy line has plus 3% health per level, plus 2% slashing damage per level for 3. Um, and we have double healing from Doppelsoldner per level. You only get one level. Plus 7.5% windmill skill damage per level. Plus 5% for slashing armor penetration per level. And we have plus 12% to all types of defense. So that's a 36%. My goodness, that's actually kind of crazy considering that without 36%, they probably sit below the 300 mark. That's crazy. That's crazy. And we have the minus 2 seconds on Song of Ladgeneck cooldown. And finally, Edge Reclaimed. After using a skill, gain 20% damage reduction and movement speed bonus for a short time. Short time duration is not really haven't really figured out the duration, but it's long enough, probably around about 10 or so seconds. It's long enough to cover the entire duration of the windmill skill, but it kind of drops off near the end. All right, and before I forget, there are two rare doctrines. Doppelsoldner's Echoes of Gold. Song of Ladgeneck extends silence on enemies by 2 seconds. At being at 4 seconds, it's really strong at that point. 2 seconds not particularly worrying, but when you can increase it to 4 seconds, these guys can become a menace because locking the enemy's ability to react uh, is absolutely savage. And again, it's a timing thing, but in a party, I think the Doppelsoldners are going to be super crazy with this kind of debuff. We also have Doppelsoldner's Cleaving Vanguard. Vanguard Triumph increase allied buff by 5%. Now, we haven't actually figured out what the allied buff is. I theorize that it might have to do something with the climbing thing. Well, sorry. It literally says the Vanguard Triumph, so it actually refers to the actual unit trait itself. We just don't know what the allied buff is, um, which is why we believe, I say we, which is why I believe that the Vanguard Triumph unit trait is not translated properly. So it kind of cuts off here. Should have asked Alan to translate anything from the Chinese for the help of this. But yeah, that is the Doppelsoldners. We're moving on to the Zealots. Now, Zealots have a really cool mechanic called Judgment Day. We'll explain further. But one thing I must say is the annoying part is you can change the attire for the Zealots, and I'm going to kind of use this as a distinction, but you can't change the attires for the Inquisitor, which is this second one, which is annoying because the Inquisitor's one is a standalone, but it's a transformation type, so you'll always transform the Zealots into the Inquisitors, and you can't change back. Alright, protection of the Aquila, you know, is -10. Um, we have Zealots nature exposes with slaughter increasing mad malice. Again, it's get cut off, but I believe it's supposed to continue on to say that killing heraldic units will increase madness further. We have the Milan. I think it's supposed to say Milanese armor is rounded and smooth like a carapace, reducing damage by 18% and providing some fire resistance. So they kind of push the fireproofing and armor protection into one. The asymmetrical left pauldron is highly defensive for blocking enemies. Just telling you that it blocks attacks. Now, I think this is to also say that the Inquisitors block attack, which they do, um, but they lose their shields, and that's just the weird part about it. So it makes sense that the Zealots would block attacks, with the shield. So it's just a little bit of flavor text saying that even though that the Inquisitors don't have a shield, they'll still be able to block attacks. Not as much though, so I'll explain that a bit later. As Heretic banishes, the Zealot drops shield -400 block, coats weapon in black powder, attacks cause burning and explosions, scourging heresy with sacred fire. Though maybe it's a translation discrepancy. I think they're supposed to say Inquisitor, but that's from the white papers. Whether or not that hits live is another question. They have blank formations. These are kind of special formations. Well, this one's a special formation. I think this one's just a generic disperse formation or kind of a block formation. But continuing on, we have Righteous Charge. I am Justice. Charge visibly towards the target location. Charging hammer attacks deals double damage and knockdown. Base cooldown 28 seconds, 8-second duration. I don't know why they don't give us the percentages. It would just make more sense instead of saying double damage. We expect it to deal double damage, for the most part, since most charges deal a lot more damage than like their basic attack. But it's good that they note that it causes knockdown. Zeal Whirlwind. Centered on faith. Swing the holy hammer to sweep down any defilers who theirs approach. Base cooldown is 23 seconds. Base duration is 6 seconds. Now, you can probably see the differences here. You have the light colored mace and you have the dark colored maces. So these next two are for when they're in their Inquisitor mode. Not going to try to say that. slam the Holy Hammer into the ground, causing a small shockwave. Small. Nearby targets stagger towards the Zealot, then are launched by a fiery uppercut. Base cooldown is 24 seconds. Base duration is 4 seconds. Not going to even try to say that either. Repent in the Firestorm. Uh, Relentlessly swing the Holy Hammer forward, each hit causing an explosion, burning all evil. Base cooldown is 24 seconds. Base duration is 6 seconds. We did see we did see these guys get a nerf to their health. They were at 14,000 health before. Now they've dropped down to 12,795. Not not particularly high at all, considering a lot of the heavy shields are now properly in the 14k mark. I think reducing the health was unnecessary. I do think I'd much prefer units be more tankier rather than deal more damage. Just a quick note, these guys don't deal very much damage. They just deal a lot of CC. You'll see it. You'll see it. So it has a strength of 25 out of 25, so an odd number. Leadership is 220. After the season ends, it's going to be 230. The speed is 6.4. This makes them faster than most units. In terms of units, in terms of melee infantry, they are the third fastest unit, and they're faster than Lancelot Knights, in fact. As you can see, their blunt armor penetration is only 1437, and their blunt damage is only 1476. Piercing defense is 635, slashing defense is 596, blunt defense is 666. Block is 1020, and block recovery is 69. Now, the defenses are on the slightly higher end than most tier 4, but it's on the lower side of... who am I kidding? An armor rating of only around about 600 is actually below average. But most of their protection does come from the Milanese armor. So these guys are tougher to kill than you think, but their defensive attributes being in the 600 mark does kind of put them in the range of just like kind of put them in the mid range. If it was above 700, that's when you start getting into like some of the higher armor ranges, but they're definitely outliers in the tier 4 where having like 900 armor is really easy. But that being said, these guys are fairly tanky, so these guys aren't easy to kill, and it does come with a combination of their block being quite strong as well. Continuing on, we have Veterancy. So you get that plus movement speed. So they have a natural of 6, goes up to 6.4. Otherwise, it's supposed to be 6.35. We have a plus 3% health per level, plus 80 block per level 3 times, so 240. We have plus 5% block recovery 3 times, minus 1 to that skill. It's the number 1 skill when you change into the Inquisitor mode. Plus 2% all types of defenses 3 times for a total of 6%. Immune to ground to control for 1.5 seconds when using Zeal Whirlwind. Again, crowd control immunity plus block makes these guys basically virtually damage immune. And yes, during Zeal Whirlwind they can block. Minus 5% damage, range damage taken. So 3 times. So they have 15% damage resistance. They have 15% range damage resistance. And immune to control for 2 seconds when using that one. Now we have Emily of the I am saying that wrong. Enmity. Enmity? Oh my goodness, I was wondering why that sounded weird. Of the Damned. Taking damage applies bleed 8 seconds. Successful blocks during this time restores up to 12% max health. Zealots, and it changes the name to Zealots, Enmity of the Damned. Now, through bottom line, the soldier's life plus 150 health 3 times. We have plus 50 block breaking per level, plus 30 blunt armor penetration 3 times, -1 on that skill, plus 30 blunt damage per level 3 times, so you get 90. Immune to control for 1.5 seconds when using Zeal Whirlwind, so these two are the same, and plus 5% melee infantry damage 3 times, so they get 15% extra melee infantry damage, which I haven't clarified on whether or not it's damage against melee infantry, or whether or not it's just their damage is plus 15%. So, that's kind of the weird thing about some of these translations or descriptions, but I assume it has to do with damage against melee infantry. Now and this one's the same as well, so they get 2 seconds of crowd control immunities with that skill. And Holy Wrath, Sacred Wrath, Grace, burn damage plus 150. Not particularly a lot of burn damage. I think they could have changed this to something better, considering that the top line one is actually kind of crazy. Now, talking about other kinds of crazy, we have... Oh man, you can't see it, can you? Hopefully, um, hopefully I go back for the Doppelsoldners one and kind of show you if you guys didn't see it. But anyway, Zealot's Helm of Cannon, max block plus 320, Milan armor reduced damage taken by an extra 5%. So that increases to 23% damage reduction. It's a lot, by the way. Not the... Well, I say it's a lot, but it's definitely enough that it's noticeable, and it's definitely quite strong in terms of defensive layers. We also have Zealots Born Anew by Martyrdom, triggering Judgment Day restores 50% max health. Now, Judgment Day is not a skill, it's not present on the bar, it's their transformation skill. So I'll show you that when we get there. Of course, if you guys didn't see, these are the Lancet's doctrines, so hopefully my camera didn't cover those up. Alright, let's go take a look in unit training.
Die Sumde. Kein Schritt zurück. Form up.
Now, I must say, the one thing that annoys me the most is that they're left-handed. It's an entire unit of left-handed, yeah, it's an entire unit of left-handed greatsword users. So yeah, that's annoying. So I'll just dry fire the skills. So this is the number 1 skill. They swing 4 times only, and they are blocking while this, but the block angle is a bit narrow. And this is the number 2, so they're gonna go sing for you. You can actually hear it. I don't have the thing. I don't have the sound very loud, but hopefully you guys heard that. Of course, you got the disperse formation, the column formation, and I wish they had access to this formation naturally. I do like block formations. Block formations are just so much better to present. But
Form up!
anyway, we'll go have them
Form
check
up!
out
Kein Schritt zurück! Halt them!
Sing, my boys. There, you'll see that icon, and they're not terribly great in melee combat. One of the problems that the current Doppelsoldners have is that
Form up!
their attack timing is too long.
Form up!
The cooldown for their attacks is too long. So what ends up happening is that they'll attack and then move towards the enemy for a little bit before attacking again. As you can see, there was a good second there
Form
as
up!
they move towards the enemy before attacking again. Hopefully, I get a
Form up!
good one here. Oh, and a good example, since I can show it now as well. You'll see that there's different healing numbers. This is them gaining health as they attack. So
Smash them!
that is the part where, as they gain health, that they gain health as they kill units, and it's independent. Now,
Form up!
I want to explain a couple of other things that probably would be a good time.
Form
Their
up!
basic attack hits 3. So they have two basic attacks animations that hit only 2 targets, and one basic attack animation which hits 3 targets. That's fairly strong, by the way. Most units in the tier 3s only hit like 2 targets. Hitting 3 targets does does make them on par with a lot of the stronger units. When it comes down to the whirlwind skill, this is where it starts to get a little bit crazy. They can hit 5 targets, by the way. So not only does the not windmill, I say whirlwind, the windmill skill hits 5 targets, has block on it, and deals roughly around about 2,000 damage, 2,000 damage raw. So, um, so that can come down quite a lot depending on like what you're hitting. Now, the other thing we did test is the amount of block break. These guys deal about 400 block break. This also includes their windmill skill. That's on par with Varangian guards, who also hit for around about 400. Shadow Shield, however, hits for like 800. But that's really important to note, because these guys baseline for all of their attacks can hit around about the 400 mark, which is much higher than which is a really high block break value, by the way, just really high. That also being said, the damage plus the block break allows them to burst down units, and so I know this might not be a really good demonstration, but the swords in the training grounds are probably level 1, so they only have like 6,000 health. But you'll see these guys just kind of just get blasted through. As you can see, that block break just absolutely hammer them. And as you can see, they didn't take very much damage either. That's their block coming through, but also block break just very easy, smashes right through. So damage is still set too high. I have said that their damage needs to come lower. They did already lower the damage from yesterday with a patch on the 12th. So this is not even the highest it was. It was even higher before. So this is the nerfed version. if you're using any shield units against the, do watch out for these guys. You don't want to face off against these guys. However, if you got block break, you can break these guys very easily. And adding on to that, they're vulnerable to CC. These guys have no recovery on their skills, from the looks of it. And of course, they only have block on the windmill skill. So if you bypass block, or you smash it, they'll get CC'd really easily. So these guys are really terrifying as damage dealers, but they're not how to say unstoppable. Just be warned that they will hurt more your unit than heroes. Again, hit limits has this funny thing where at scale they will be more deadly than against single targets. So yeah. So when it comes to blob fights, the Doppelsoldners will be more deadly. More deadly. So this is the formation. You have, I wouldn't say disperse, but a very nice block formation. And then you have really cool wing formation, I want to say. It does use the icon for the wing formation, but it doesn't have a name for it. So I'm thinking they're going to give it a special name. I love this formation. Does look great, doesn't it? And, oh man, let's get that wording out of the way. Don't these guys look awesome? Now, just going to dry fire the skills. You got the regular charge.
Secure this position.
As you can see, these guys don't have a charge animation. So you can actually have these guys moving around and go immediately into the charge, which is amazing. And as you can already probably tell, these guys are super fast. Absolute monsters of speed. Which, unfortunately, I have asked to be nerfed, but they haven't done it yet, so I don't think they're going to nerf the speed anytime soon. This is their number 2 skill, the Zeal Whirlwind. Pretty neat, if I do say so. And we're just gonna have them just run straight in. As you can see, I can have them start running up, and they'll just go right into it. Damage is pretty low, as you can see, around about 1400 damage. One thing that I do want to note here, it does say double, the charging hammer attack deals double damage, but it was only 1400 damage, and their melee attack deals 1400 damage. Not a lot. Not a lot of damage, and definitely not dealing double damage.
Secure this position.
Oh, and, since this is a really good example, get hit a little bit, start healing a little bit. These guys are fairly tanky because of it. 12% might be a little bit high. I mean, even the stalwarts are only set to 9% right now. I'm not exactly I would assume that, like, the duration of 8 seconds means that they can't heal more than 12% within that 8 seconds. But from my experience, the combination of the heal, the block, the damage resistance makes these guys super tanky. Now, of course, these guys don't deal very much damage, and we're just gonna whirlwind in the middle of these guys. Not particularly great, of course. So why don't we test it out against something a little bit more difficult to kill?
Attack at will.
Now, a good thing to note is that a lot of their attacks does have unblockable on it. They also deal roughly around about 400 block break. It's as high as the Doppelsoldners, but with the combination of a couple of their attacks being unblockable, it's a little bit stronger when we come to terms of CC as well. As you can see, they got block broken and thrown, so like it's a combination of both. Whirlwind. Phew, phew, phew.
Secure this position.
All right. This is only the Zealot form, but let me also explain some of the things through my testing. Righteous Charge only hits 2 targets, or was it 3? Um, let's say, man, I have it somewhere. I have it in my rule footage somewhere. I will leave a link down below if you guys want to take a look at it. But I didn't get around to test the Chariot with that one. So their basic attack hits for 2 for the most parts. I think these guys also have an attack which hits 3. Oh, no, I mixed this around. Doppelsoldners just hit 3 with their basic attack. They hit 5 with their windmill skill. These guys are the ones that has the awkward 2 of their attack animations hit 2 targets, and 1 of their attack animations hit 3 targets. And the important thing here is, yeah, the important thing here is, I think their Righteous Charge hits 3 targets, and this Zeal Whirlwind one hits 3, 2, 2. So it's a 3. So there's 3 attacks in the Zeal Whirlwind, and the first one hits 3 targets, and the other 2 attacks hit 2 targets. I think that's how that works out. You could probably see from the damage numbers plus the information of the hit limits, they're not particularly dealing a lot of damage. But as you can see, when they were facing off against the Stalwarts, their block break is really high. Basically the exact same as the Lancelot. Basically the exact same as the... I want to call them Lancenets, but they're not Lancenets. The Doppelsoldners. So they'll break shields very easily. Particularly, I would say, if you're facing off against shield units with these guys, the shield units are basically handicapped. They're basically a step above any shield unit, or 1 step stronger against shield units than probably normal units. Alright, now for the Judgment Day. Heretics, meet your end. Purify all in the flame of grace. Now, you cannot change back once you activate Judgment Day. Swapping units don't work, and you don't have a skill to change back. What I didn't explain was this hammer meter bar on the bottom left here was filling up as you were fighting. As the description before, against chivalric units, you would get increase. Against units who are tier 3 or lower, you would get increase. Now, killing, damage, taking damage, all of those will increase that bar. It's not particularly hard to get this meter gain, but you're going to have to at least take 1 fight, which, again, is a bar to entry when you change into... before I change, actually, I kind of want to just demonstrate something as well. So just keep this in mind. You have their basic attack being fairly strong, but not terrifying. And what I mean by terrifying, I'll show you in a moment. They'll get through these stalwarts eventually, but they didn't take that much damage, as you can notice. I did lose a guy, but that's not too much of a problem. Well, I say problem. That's not too much of a loss. Also, when units are lost in this formation, it's a really weird kind of minus. Oh, why did I do that? Anyway, hopefully that demonstrated the transformation thing. I did want to speak, but let's go straight into the basic attack of these guys. Now, as you can see, these guys are way more ferocious and causes a lot more CC. Now, the reason why this happens is because their basic attack is unblockable. It's straight up unblockable. Funny thing is, it's a two attack combo. It's a two attack combo. Hits 2-1, which is really weird. And the attack cycle does seem to be a little bit faster. Well, sorry, I say a little bit faster. The attack cycle seems to be on par with the Zealots. So if the Zealots are throwing out one attack every 1 second, these guys are throwing out one attack every 1 second, is what I mean. But their attacks are two attack combos. So they're hitting 3 guys all the time, while Zealots are only hitting 2 guys most of the time, with 3 guys every so often. Alright. Also, they have this little madness craze thing, so Dark Knight imagery going out crazy right now. Also, you get this change in the icon, literally making it feel like a completely different unit. I've said this before, and I'll keep pushing that feedback. I would love these to be separate units, so I can bring both of them. Anyway, let's just dry fire some of these skills. Right now, we're at almost full strength. You get that big old radius, big uppercut swing, and this is the awesome full combo. Very nice, very nice. I don't know how to say these names for skills. I'm just going to call them skill 1 and skill 2. For the most parts, it's a lot of CC. Like, these guys have a crazy amount of CC. Now, they did nerf this number 1 skill. It used to be unlimited targets, but I think right now it only hits 12 targets. So you'll see that it can be blocked, but the follow-up attack can't be blocked. And they move around a lot. So how to describe these guys is kind of like a wrecking ball. Oh, God. What I mean... sorry. I take that back. It's not blockable. It's... The CC will go through block, is what I wanted to say. Like, even if I get block icons, they'll still be CC'd. So it's technically not unblockable, but you'll still be CC'd, which is kind of weird. But yeah, there's a lot of unblockable in their kit, and it's kind of crazy. Oh, God, what I didn't explain as well is these 2 skills don't have block on them, but when they're in their Zealot form, those 2 skills have block on them. I didn't explain that, so yeah, sorry about that.
Secure this position.
So those are the Zealots here for. Now, this one is a 4 attack combo. Funnily enough, it kind of it's kind of the same structure. It's like 3-2-2-2. Causes a lot of mayhem though. This one's a little bit special. It depends on how many units are in the it depends how many units are in left in how many models are left in the unit, but at full strength it's 12 and then it goes to 8 then 6. No, 12, 10, 8, 6. I have the notes here somewhere. All right, let's just forget about that. Anyway, yeah. What I did forget to mention is in their normal mode, the Charge and the Zeal Whirlwind have block on it. So those skills are way more defensive. And when they transfer in the Inquisitor mode, these two skills don't have block on them. So particularly the number 2 skill is very dangerous to use because it doesn't have block on them. You can't use it. You can't use it as a kind of like uh, infinite damage immunity kind of thing. And what I mean by that is block plus CC immunity essentially gives you damage immunity. Because if you can't break the block, you will never be able to damage the unit unless you hit the unit with so many attacks that some of them register in the same cycle because you recover block every second or something. God, what I want to say. My overall opinion on the Zealots are the transformation in particular. I wish you could transform back or they just be two separate units. I'm much more preferring them be two separate units, but um, if the unit is designed as like a heavy assault unit, the normal mode is better as a defensive unit that whittles down your opponent, while these Inquisitors, I want to quote call them, um, are a, are a literal wrecking ball and will destroy any cohesion the enemy has. Um, so really, really good at disrupting enemy formations, while the other one not so much. while the normal mode not so much. Um, the fire damage didn't come in very much, so maybe it's because we need to go fight some normal guys.
Hold position. To battle.
It is OP, I must say. Definitely, definitely one of the kind of stronger units you'll ever see. Basically, constant CC between the knockback, knockdown,
Secure this position.
fire, frightened state.
Form up.
I'm trying to get some burn damage, but I think these guys deal
Hold position.
like their damage is only like their damage numbers are not great, but for some reason they're just murdering. You'll see a couple of burning damage come through. Um, it's not a lot, only sitting at like the 200 mark.
Secure this
Oh,
position.
interesting thing. I need to check if the burn doctrine is there, but yeah, the plus 150 is definitely not worth it for the bottom line. I think top line is just way better, but bottom line, if you want to focus on just dealing damage and stuff, um, should work well. Should work well if you're going to switch to the Inquisitor when possible. Um, and
Hold
finally,
position.
let's go over the Chariot. some of the Chariot things. Now, I did explain. Sorry, I did go over like the whirlwind kind of thing, but I want to kind of just demonstrate the unbalance mechanic. Now, hopefully, I get a good unit. Demez. Now, they have done a couple of things previously. Well, basically, you're gonna get thrown. Oh man. Now, when you get dismounted, you get thrown from the thing. So, as you can see, I get knocked off. There's a slow on it for 8 seconds, and I can ride away then.
Destroy them.
The changes to the CC is probably one of the most important parts. Now, since I don't throw the units away, driving through them has become so much more easier to deal more than enough damage to kill. This is the training ground, so these guys don't have as much health as normal units. There are a couple of additional changes that I will go through just for the Chariot, because they're important. Now, there is a funny little bug, and I will demonstrate it. I wish I didn't kill those units. As you can see, the unbalanced bar does not go down very fast. Very slow, in fact. Now, funny bug. Within a certain time frame, if you dismount of your own volition, you will still be thrown. Not a good example, because that did not happen fast enough. Let me demonstrate that again with a unit that will actually throw me. Because Demez Spearman seems to be the good one. Hopefully we get a roll for the Demez Spearman, otherwise I'm going to switch over to the Stalwarts. Stalwarts are a really good example.
Destroy them.
Oh, god dang it. So as you can see, like, because I don't completely demolish... I might suck stuff, right? I don't get completely demolished. Alright. Hopefully you guys will just absolutely bone me right now. There we go. Now I'll dismount. Within a certain time frame, I'll just get knocked. You serious? Didn't happen again. I literally just tested this. Oh, thank goodness. Hit me. And then I'll jump off, and then I'll get thrown. Funny, isn't that? I'll hop on, hop off, and then get thrown. So there's a bug. So that's the bug. So really funny. Real funny. Oh, and another unintended effect. While you're 100% slow, you can spin forever. Which is different from being immobilized. Or I haven't noticed when I get immobilized by, like, javelins or something. That I can spin forever. Because I'm normally just using shift to run around. Anyway, that's that. Let's just go quickly over a couple of extra changes for the Chariot, because I think these ones are important to note. Changes to the Tier 3 and Tier 4, not particularly important unless you've got a frame of reference, so I might update you guys on any major changes for any of the upcoming PTR, otherwise probably just wait for the Tier 5 to be released to do any update. Now, The Tier 5 Empire Chariot fixed an issue where sometimes when the unbalanced progress bar reached full, the hero riding the chariot wouldn't be knocked off. The issue will continue to be monitored for fixes. Right now, I think certain hero abilities won't knock off the hero when the unbalanced bar reaches full. Um, so that is also an issue if you guys from Booming Tech are watching. If a target is struck by Chariot again within a short period, the damage received is reduced by 25%. If hit consecutively, damage taken is reduced by up to 85% for 5 seconds. Not that, not particularly what I was hoping for, but this is actually a really good change. Um, it reduces the damage a lot, like a lot. Um, a corresponding resistance buff and its description will be displayed in the player status bar. So this is for heroes, which is really good. Unbalanced recovery rate increased now. It decreases by 25 points every 3 seconds, up to 8 points. Artillery can now deal higher imbalance damage to Chariot. All artillery now inflicts significant imbalance damage. With that being said, um, I find it hilarious that they're going to make artillery deal high amounts of imbalance. I also find the fact that the recovery rate is so slow, and it's every 3 seconds. So there's a massive ass delay. There's a massive ass delay before the recovery kicks in, and then the recovery is not very fast. If I was to kind of be the one to kind of balance this unbalanced thing, the recovery rate at the very least would have a much faster decay, and it would be dynamic. For every for every second they are not gaining imbalance, I will increase their unbalanced recovery rate by 1 point every second. So this scales exponentially, but um, starting off at 1 would be really damn slow. Um, so I would need to know the total number in order to get the timing for this correct. For what I assume is probably something like a base 500. So if I was to think about it, I would probably, if I was to think about put it out of 500, I'd put a base of 5 per second. So for every second, it will be 5, then 10, then 15, 20, blah 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 blah. Keeps scaling faster and faster. So it will just drop really fast if you're out of combat for like 10 seconds or something. The bug is hilarious. I hope that they keep it around because some of my testing has resulted in really funny scenarios where a hero would throw me from the chariot and then I try to run away only to be instantly thrown again because they would hit my chariot and cause the unbalance. So that is hilarious. Of course, no matter how you dismount, whether or not it's using the dismount skill or you dismount on purpose or get thrown by a hero skill, once that imbalance meter fills up within a certain time frame, I think it's within 5 seconds or something of being dismounted, you will be thrown again. You will be thrown again. So that which is absolutely hilarious. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I know sometimes I talk a little bit too long, but I want to hear your guys' opinions on what you've seen so far. Doppelsoldners, definitely a DPS unit. Upsetting that it is. Really wish it wasn't. Zealots, normal mode, okay-ish, not particularly crazy. Um, Inquisitors, absolutely insane, crazy. Really fun. Both sides are really, really, really fun is what I mean. However, for the Chariot in particular, do you think the changes are going to be enough to balance it, or do you think it's still going to be OP? I think this unbalanced mechanic will cause to kill it if they don't handle it well, and I hope they don't, because, well, what I mean is, I hope they don't balance it well. I hope they just kill the unit. However, there's a couple of things that do worry me. Um, a single chariot is already a menace, and it deals quite a bit of damage. Multiple chariots rolling through enemies. How is that going to interact with the damage resistance? Is multiple chariots going to cause that damage resistance to be effective against all of them? Questions that I have no ability to test, but for the most part, I'm worried that Chariot is in a stronger state rather than a weaker state, and that is mostly because of how Chariot and its damage application works. Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Other than that, my name's Azukai. Have a nice day. Bye for now.